Well, we jump back to the subject of, excuse me, COVID-19, but in particular, I want to have a look at the Behavioural Insights team. And if anybody listening to the column today is not familiar with them, please go and research them, because this is the government's own applied psychology group that has been boasting it can change the way people think and behave, and they won't even know why their views and values have changed. But of course, the thing we pointed out was that the Behavioural Insights team had been instrumental in setting out the applied psychology policy in order to get people to conform with government instructions. And this had come to light in the SAGE and the SPI-B documents. Now, here's the front page of the Behavioural Insights team, and you can see that COVID-19 is a big part of their work at the moment, a behavioural perspective. And this is the organisation that was suggesting that the level of fear needed to be ramped up. People needed to be more fearful in order to obey what the government said, and also that they needed to be put under pressure within their communities. Now, both those actions, putting people under stress and pressure, are going to have significant adverse effects on anybody who's got a mental health weakness. They may suffer from depression or anxiety or stress, and if you stress them further, you're going to hurt them. So we sent an email off to the Behavioural Insights team this morning to ask whether they'd carried out any form of mental health risk assessment as to what effect that ramping up fear in people was going to have. So this is the first section of that email. You can freeze your screen and have a look at it, but the details are given. The quote from the SAGE 22 March minutes, where they said we're looking at options for increasing adherence to social distancing. And this is the one where it said that the perceived level of personal threat needs to be increased. So we need to make people more fearful. And at the bottom of your screen, it's talking about consideration given to the use of social disapproval. So we've sent that email off asking for a look at their risk assessment. It will be interesting to see whether they've done a risk assessment, because if they haven't, they clearly are not worried about any damage they do on people's mental health. The Behavioural Insights team is in partnership with the Cabinet Office. So are we dealing with the government here, or are we not dealing with the government? I'm just going to say for you, David, this is where it gets very interesting, because we don't really know who these people are and what their true function is. But if we go on to press releases, it gets very interesting, because what do we find? That the Behavioural Insights team are declaring their undying loyalty to Black Lives Matter. So whereas they chastise the public for having preconceived and set piece ideas as to what they believe, they then promote in their own press release that that's exactly what they believe. And I'll just follow this next bit through quickly, and then we can have a bit of discussion about it. But down here, you notice that it's boasting that Alex Sutherland from the Behavioural Insights team was appointed to the government What Works Trial Advice Panel. Now, I'd never heard of this at all, and I thought it's going to be interesting to see what this is about. So let's have a look. It was launched in 2015 to improve the quality and quantity of trialling across central government. It comprises 50 experts from academia and the civil service. But don't worry, Mike, it's pro bono. These people are completely independent, and they're thinking about conducting, and you should use them if you're thinking about conducting an impact evaluation. So there we are. The panel includes experts with experience in a broad range of policy areas and evaluation methods, and then they list them, and there's a lot. Encourage people to look. Well, I went and had a look, and sure enough, I found Alex, Behavioural Insights team, chief scientist, but my goodness, what experience, because he's an expert in crime and justice and education.
Good.
One or other is not enough for him. He's an expert in all of them. But my question is, how can he be external when BIT itself is already in partnership with the Cabinet Office? So this is trickery. This is a lie on the public. His organisation is in partnership with the Cabinet Office. But when you look at the Cabinet Office, they say, oh no, he's an external advisor. But this lady also caught my eye, DeBella, here she is, and she's one of the Cabinet Office experts. And what is she an expert in? Electoral registration, elections and democracy and devolution. But if you're going to have a look at her from the LinkedIn page, it gets very interesting because the coloured blocks are where she's providing research capability. But since January 2013, she's been involved here as Associate Editor Contention, the multidisciplinary journal of social protest. And I found this fascinating because I'd like to know why we need that sort of experience inside the Cabinet Office. You found the document earlier this morning, Mike. So it's published annually, but this is discussing social movements, revolutions or revolutionary waves, quantitative research on protest, social and political theory and methodology, legal and economic implication of social movements, in-depth empirical reports of recent protests, revolution and protests. And you begin to wonder whether this experience explains that the Cabinet Office really does support Black Lives Matter. And the fact is that we've got the policy being driven from within the government. They want the revolution and they've got the experts in there to advise them. And I just end this section by saying that, of course, we challenge the government over their for their support for Extinction Rebellion, and they came back with no answer at all. So whereas we could approve that Extinction Rebellion was involved in criminal activity and was recruiting and grooming young people, they didn't want to stop it or respond. So, David, if you talk about revolution, the government seems to have built all of the machinery in order to put that revolution in place.
It does indeed, Brian. It's really quite striking. So the Cabinet Office of the allegedly Conservative government supports unconditionally BLM, and they support the destruction of free market capitalism, the destruction of the family, and massive redistribution of wealth based on skin tone. That's quite a policy, a turnaround for the Tories.
It is, and I think there's a lot of question. There's a lot more to come out, but I think we can see that the era of party politics is over. There is no party system. We have a cabal that's buried itself inside government, and it's becoming increasingly easy to see what this really is.